Hello everybody, good afternoon from the House of Charity. My name is Nicholas and I oversee the Safety Smart Children program here at the House of Charity. I thank you all for joining me today, as today I'll be discussing the topic of fire safety in the kitchen with you all. Now, I understand that the kitchen is an essential part of everybody's household. For most of us, it's a place where we can prepare our meals. For some of us who can relate, it's a place where social gatherings happen also. Days like Thanksgiving is something that we can all relate to, where everybody is just excited at what's going on in the kitchen. Did you know that Turkey Day itself is the highest day in which we can see the most fires happen in the homes each year? And it costs almost $1 billion in damage every year. That's why I'm taking some time out of my day to bring awareness to you, the do's and don'ts of kitchen safety. So let's go ahead and step into the kitchen right quick. Now, according to the National Fire Protection Association, U.S. fire departments responded to an estimated average of 172,000 home structure fires per year started by cooking activities in the period of 2014 and 2018. These fires caused an average of 550 civilian deaths, 4,800 reported civilian fire injuries, and more than $1 billion in direct property damage per year. Here's this for consideration also. Cooking-related burns have emerged as a particularly damaging subset of childhood burns, representing upwards of 85% of childhood scalds, and these types of burns carry a greater patient injury burden and long-term morbidity rate than other burn injuries. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So if you're like me, you love the kitchen for one reason, and that's probably because you love food and you love to eat. As you can see right now, I'm actually boiling up some water for macaroni later. Trust me, macaroni is a meal of champions. However, if you notice something, my pot handle is facing towards the back of the stove. So that way, if I were to come into the kitchen, I won't accidentally knock the pot over while walking by the stove. I know it seems like a small tip, but trust me, you can avoid so much injuries and accidents by just following this simple thing. I need to grab something from the kitchen real quick. Pretty convincing, right? But in all seriousness, with this tip, it's also important to be focused and aware of what's going on in the kitchen at all times. Here's another fact that I can throw at you right quick. Did you know that according to the National Fire Protection Association, unattended cooking was the leading cause of cooking fires and casualties? Clothing was the item first ignited in less than 1% of these fires. However, clothing ignitions led to 8% of home cooking fire deaths. So there are two things that we need to be aware when hearing this fast. First and foremost, when cooking something in the kitchen, never leave it unattended. Oh wait. Oh no. So, as you saw from that clip, that's one thing you should never ever do, because who knows what could happen. Another thing that I brought from the statistic from earlier was that clothing ignitions led to 8% of home cooking fire deaths. That leads me to another thing. Another important thing to remember while cooking is to never wear loose article of clothing. This is because the sleeves could be something that can easily catch on fire. So, when we're cooking, make sure to roll our sleeves up past our elbows, so that way we can prevent anything from catching on fire. Another thing I thought that might be helpful mentioning is to always make sure to wear clothes while cooking. I know it's comical to think about. However, especially when we're cooking with hot oils and grease, it's important to make sure that we are protected from possible grease burns. Another thing to add to grease, when cooking with grease and oil, if it were to somehow catch on fire, never ever try to put out the fire with water or other material, as it will only intensify the flames. Let's make sure, if we do have a fire occur in our kitchen, from our pots and pans while cooking, that we cover the fire and smother it with a pot lid. Of course, when this happens, always make sure to dial 911 and exit the house if things were to get too out of hand. Never leave your cooking area cluttered, such as this. So, a lot of these things I'm actually putting away right now could be combustible. So, Not only is it convenient to keep things clean as you go in the kitchen, it's also just another accident that's been avoided. This also makes sure that we wipe down our stove with any residual grease while we're cooking. And for added measures, let's go ahead and make sure that we never cook on a dirty stove in the first place. Another thing that we should make sure to do after we're done cooking is to unplug all of our appliances, so that way we can ensure that no electrical fires can happen. I also want to talk about the children right quick, the little ones especially. Now as a kid, I was always in and out of the kitchen. And parents, if your kids were as active as I was, then you know that the kitchen is the perfect storm waiting to happen. So, once again, never leave the kitchen unattended, especially with children around. When children are in the kitchen, let's make sure to keep at least 5 steps away from the stove at all times. This is so we can ensure that children do not get injured in the kitchen or burned from the stove at any point in time. Now, I'm going to quickly cut it to my counterpart, Janet. She oversees the Safety Smart Babies program, and I know that she has some valuable tips to provide you all with.
Hello, my name is Janet and welcome to another series of our Safety Smart Babies. Before I go on, I'd like to congratulate you on your new baby. And if you're an expectant mom, congratulations in advance. You are going to be an amazing mom. Now just imagine the smell of cookies baking in the oven or a tasty sauce simmering on the stovetop. That is hard to resist, right? Yes, vote for adults and kids. So today, I'll be giving you simple steps to keep your babies and your little chef safe from potential burns in the kitchen. Are you ready? Yeah, let's go. Before we go on, let's take a minute to test our smoke alarms. Is it working? Good job. Now let's go on. Number 1, avoid holding your baby while cooking. Instead, put them in a play area or high chair that is placed at a safe distance from the kitchen. Next, make sure that any play area is not near the part between the stove and the sink. This is because you would often be carrying hot liquids, hot food, hot sauces to the sink or to the kitchen counters, and we do not want our kids playing in this area. We consider this area the hot zone. Next, never allow child workers in the kitchen. There are lots of overhead dangers in the kitchen, such as pot handles, knife sets on counter edges, and so much more. Infants or toddlers in child workers, they have a bit more height, so they are more likely to be able to reach up and grab onto these items, inviting a disaster. We do not want that. And last but not the least, don't let young children stand near when you open a hot oven. If your child is standing near when you open the hot oven, their face may be exactly at the level of the heat coming out, and they may get a much worse blast of heat than you do while bending over to remove something. So make sure that it stands well away when you open the oven door. Thank you.
Always make sure that your kitchen has an accessible and safely stored fire extinguisher. Of course, in the event of a fire, immediately dial 911 and exit the house following your escape plan. Overall, we all want to ensure that our homes are safe, and it very much starts in the kitchen. Using these quick guidelines, we can ensure that you and your loved ones are safe. Thank you for joining me, and have a good day. Take care.